In a small, tranquil village nestled between rolling green hills and a serene river, life moved at a slow and steady pace. The villagers were simple folk who found joy in the little things, sharing stories by the fire, tending to their gardens, and celebrating the changing of the seasons. Among them lived an elderly man named Elias, who was known for his quiet demeanor and wise eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the world. Elias lived in a modest wooden cabin at the edge of the village, surrounded by a lush garden of vibrant flowers and vegetables. He had no family of his own, but he was never lonely. He often welcomed travelers passing through, offering them a warm meal and a place to rest. Despite his humble existence, Elias was content, and his peacefulness drew the curiosity of those around him. The story begins on a crisp autumn morning, when the sun bathed the village in golden light and the air was filled with the scent of freshly harvested apples. A young traveler named Samuel arrived in the village, weary from his long journey. He carried with him a heavy heart, burdened by the complexities of life in the bustling city he had left behind. Samuel's arrival would set in motion a series of events that would uncover the profound wisdom Elias had quietly carried for decades. As Samuel settled into the village, he couldn't help but notice how different life was compared to the city he had left behind. The people here seemed genuinely happy, even though they had so little. They smiled freely, shared their resources, and found joy in the simplest of things, watching the sunrise, working in their fields, or laughing together over a meal. Samuel, however, struggled to adapt. He was haunted by the pressures of his past life, the endless chase for wealth, the constant need to prove himself, and the emptiness that followed every fleeting success. He couldn't understand how these villagers, especially Elias, could live so peacefully without ambition or material wealth. Driven by his curiosity, Samuel decided to approach Elias one evening, as the old man sat on a wooden bench outside his cabin, sipping tea and gazing at the stars. "Elias," Samuel began hesitantly, "how do you do it? How do you live so simply and still seem so happy?" Elias smiled gently and gestured for Samuel to sit beside him. "Happiness," he said, "is not found in what we have, but in how we see the world. The more we chase after things, the more we forget to appreciate what's already here." Samuel frowned. "But isn't it important to strive for more? To work hard and achieve success?" Elias nodded. "There is nothing wrong with working hard, but when we tie our happiness to achievements, we set ourselves up for disappointment. True happiness comes from within, from gratitude, contentment, and the connections we build with others." Samuel found himself both intrigued and frustrated by Elias's words. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to life than what he had been taught, but letting go of his old ways seemed impossible. Over the following days, Samuel began to spend more time with Elias, hoping to uncover the secret to his happiness. However, the more he learned, the more he realized that the answers he sought might require him to face his own fears and insecurities. The turning point came when a sudden storm swept through the village, destroying crops and damaging homes. While Samuel panicked, fearing the worst, the villagers worked together to rebuild, their spirits unbroken. It was then that Samuel began to see the strength in their simplicity and the power of their unity. The storm left the village in disarray. Crops were flattened, roofs were torn from homes, and the once vibrant gardens were reduced to muddy patches of earth. Samuel watched in disbelief as the villagers, instead of succumbing to despair, began to rebuild with unwavering determination. They worked together, sharing tools, food, and encouragement, their laughter echoing through the chaos. Elias, too, was among them, his calm demeanor unshaken as he helped repair a neighbor's roof. Samuel, on the other hand, felt helpless. He had never experienced such devastation, and the idea of starting over seemed insurmountable. That evening, he sat with Elias by the fire, his frustration boiling over. "How can you all be so calm?" Samuel asked, his voice tinged with anger. "You've lost so much. Doesn't it bother you?" Elias looked at Samuel, his eyes filled with kindness. "We've lost things, yes," he said, "but we haven't lost each other. And as long as we have each other, we have everything we need to rebuild." Samuel fell silent, the weight of Elias's words sinking in. He realized that the villagers' happiness wasn't rooted in material possessions or external achievements. It was in their relationships, their resilience, and their ability to find joy even in the darkest moments. The next day, Samuel decided to join the villagers in their efforts. He helped repair fences, plant new seeds, and rebuild homes. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose that wasn't tied to success or recognition. He began to understand what Elias had been trying to teach him all along, that happiness isn't something to be chased. It's something to be cultivated through gratitude, connection, and a willingness to embrace life's imperfections. As the village slowly returned to its former glory, Samuel found himself changing. The burdens he had carried from his old life began to lift, replaced by a newfound sense of peace. He started to see the beauty in simplicity and the strength in community, and he realized that perhaps for the first time in his life he was truly happy. Months passed and the village flourished once again. The crops grew tall and vibrant, the homes were sturdier than before, and the laughter of the villagers filled the air. Samuel had become a part of their community, no longer the weary traveler who had arrived burdened by the complexities of his past life. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Samuel sat with Elias outside the cabin. The two men sipped tea in comfortable silence, the soft chirping of crickets providing a soothing backdrop. Finally, Samuel broke the silence. "Elias," he said, his voice steady but reflective, "I think I finally understand what you've been trying to teach me. Happiness isn't about having everything, it's about appreciating what you have and finding joy in the little things." Elias smiled, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You've learned well, Samuel. Life is like a garden. If you nurture it with care and patience, it will bloom beautifully, even after the harshest storms." Samuel nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He thought about the life he had left behind, the endless pursuit of wealth and status, the constant pressure to achieve more, and realized how empty it had been. Here, in the simplicity of the village, he had found something far more valuable: peace, purpose, and connection. As the days turned into weeks, Samuel decided to stay in the village permanently. He built a small home near Elias's cabin, planted his own garden, and became an integral part of the community. He found joy in the rhythm of the seasons, the warmth of shared meals, and the quiet wisdom of his mentor. Years later, Samuel would often think back to the moment he arrived in the village, weary and lost. He would remember how Elias had shown him a different way of living, a way that prioritized gratitude, simplicity, and connection over ambition and materialism. And he would smile knowing that he had found what he had been searching for all along. The story of Samuel and Elias became a cherished tale in the village, a reminder that happiness is not something to be found in the chaos of the world, but something to be cultivated in the stillness of the heart.